All right, guys, go to my YouTube channel at the Murkison Method. Like and subscribe. I am putting out free content every single day that you can use for your real estate business. Today, I am going to go over the exact purchase contract that I use to close millions and millions and millions of real estate with, okay? The great thing about it is only one page, straight to the point. There is a myth that you got to have 10, 15 pages for a purchase contract to be valid. That is a myth, okay? You only need one page with none of that mumbo legal jargon that you can't understand. It's very simple, straight to the point, okay? So basically, the first line is going to be the address of the property. Second line is going to be the purchase price. This should be two, spelled wrong. The third line is going to be the closing costs. Who's paying the closing costs? Is it the buyer paying all the closing costs? Is it the buyer and seller splitting it? You put that right there. You put the closing date. I always like to put on or before because I don't like doing amendments just in case we don't close at that closing date. You always put the closing attorney, the location, and their phone number. The next line, you're going to put the earnest money, what the earnest money is going to be. Number 7, this is where you're going to put the seller's information. You see John Doe address, phone number, and email. The next section is going to be where the buyer's information, address, phone number, and email. And then this section here, seller will provide buyer with the following, okay? This is where you put all your stipulations, okay? This is a mandatory list of stipulations that I use on every contract. So the first one is keys to the property at closing. I always put all appliances stay with the property. This is a good thing, especially if you're buying rentals, because you don't want to have to buy a property and have to go spend more money and buy appliances if it's not there. So you make that in the one of the stipulations in the contract. There you save a lot of money. Number 3, you're going to put buyer reserves the right to show the property before settlement for reasons including contractors' estimates and funding partners. The buyer has to give you access to the property during the due diligence before closing, because you may want to put you may want to add a partner to the property. He may want to see it. You may want to bring contractors there to get a bid on how much the work is going to be. So I always put that stipulation in, okay? The next one is seller is not aware of any negative or detrimental action against the property or any major defect that impacts the property value. This is a good stipulation to make sure that the title is clean. They're going to find that out anyway with the closing attorney, but it's good to put that in the stipulations. I always put a due diligence. I always try to put 15 days. The longer the better. It gives you more time to give you an out clause just in case you don't want to do the deal. So the average is about 15 days, okay? Here goes the great stipulation here. Buyer is purchasing the property from the seller to rehab and or rent and or resell or assign property with the intent to speculate for a profit. Buyer may market the property on MLS prior to closing. This stipulation will cover your butt on anything, like if you're trying to wholesale especially. So basically, you are letting the seller know that you are buying this property to make profit, to rehab, rent, or to assign. Basically means to wholesale the property to somebody else. And they got to give you the right to market the property on MLS. Okay, that is big, especially for those who don't have buyers. You can put the property on MLS before closing. Of course, speak to a real estate broker to get the exact details on how to do that. But you can do that, and then you can get buyers that way by advertising the property on MLS. I always put that the home has to be vacant at closing. Okay? Of course, there's some instances where I will take on the tenant if they're living there just to get the deal done. But I always put that stipulation in there. 90% of the time, the homes are vacant, so I don't have to go through eviction and things like that. And I always put buyer is purchasing the property as is. I like to make the seller feel comfortable, so I throw that in there. We all know I'm buying it as is, but when you actually write it down in the contract and stipulations, it makes the seller feel, oh, okay, this guy really cares, that I'm buying it as is. and I don't have to do anything for him to purchase it. Okay. Then you also can add as many stipulations you want in this section. This is where it's at, but these are the main ones. I also put owner finance stipulations here when it is an owner finance deal, or if it's a wraparound deal, I put those stipulations here, such as interest rate, down payment, loan amount, monthly payment, things like that. And then last but not least, signature of the buyer and signature of the seller. Okay. This is a basic, straight to the point. A third grader can read this and understand the contract. Of course, you can review this with your attorney. Still, even though it's one page, if you're not that comfortable, but it's a very simple contract. I closed millions and millions of dollars with this one-page contract. I even closed a $2.5 million owner finance one-page contract with this deal. So don't think that the contract has to be 10 plus pages in order for it to be valid. Okay, this is my one-page contract right here.